is your name, educational background, and current job title?
Okay.
And description.
My name is Deanna Bailey, and my educational background, I have a bachelor's in K-6 elementary from Concord University. And then I also went back to Concord and got my master's in reading to become a reading specialist. I have administrative leadership, pre-K special needs, and autism pre-K and K.
So what do you do now? Like what's your
I
job
am the
in general?
director of early childhood programs. So I am over all things early childhood, starting, actually, I work with birth to 3 and like early Head Start, things like that, to help transition those kids into our system to Part B. I am the pre-K coordinator for our county. I also work with the DHHR, all of our collaborative partners. I am working with the Science of Reading team for our county, just pretty much anything that has to do with anywhere from pre-K to 3rd grade.
Awesome. Could you share a bit about your journey into educational research within the field of reading instruction?
Okay. So when I was doing my undergrad, I had a professor, her name was Kathy Hawks, and I adored her.
I have her now.
Do
I love
you?
her.
Oh
yes.
my gosh, okay. So she's wonderful, so you
Yes.
know. Every time I was with her, and she taught all of like my core reading things and like 307, things like that, and it was like I just couldn't get enough. I'd always been fascinated with reading, and I knew then that was like that's where I wanted my specialty to be. I knew that I wanted to keep going with reading. I always felt like it was the most important academic skill that we could teach to our kids, because it's something that you use every single day for the rest of your life. Once I got hired, I started out in a 2nd grade classroom, and then got into a Title I position, which I loved. Being in Title I wanted to get my certification to be a reading specialist, but that caused me to dig a little deeper into the research, doing the strategic plans and things like that. Everything that I did, I had to have research to back it up. So when I was doing Title I, the big thing then was RTI, the response to intervention. So I sort of had to like dig into that, and I tried to link that into other things like research as far as how poverty and learning were interrelated and things. So that's really how I got into that journey. Now, pushing forward many years, we have a focus on the science of reading. So I feel like I'm going down that path again. I'm like digging back in, trying to find more research-based strategies and things that can help our kids to be reading on grade level by the time they're in 3rd grade.
Yes, that's a big step there. Do you believe that teachers staying informed on updated educational research strategies is crucial to student learning?
Absolutely. I think in order for them to be effective, that they have to always be willing to grow and to research and to make changes when it's needed. I feel like one thing, like in the past, I don't know if it's, I say Marie Clay, some people say Marie Clay, but anyway, the reading recovery and the cueing systems and things like that was such a big push for a long time. And I'm not saying there weren't some things that, you know, would help readers, but a lot of that, you know, we have now found out, even though that was at the time considered research-based, now we know that it's not effective, that we need to explicitly teach our phonics and, you know, teach that, make sure our kids know phonemic awareness and things like that, because like I said, if you don't go back and research on your own and learn those strategies, then you're not going to evolve and you're not going to meet the students' needs. So you have to look at where we were, determine what was effective, what's not, and what we need to do to get our kids where they need to be.
I agree. It's a lot of outdated
practices.
Yes,
very.
Yeah.
You know, used to, you know, we always said a big thing was the sight words, you know, and we were told, you know, more than 70% of what a kid reads is going to be sight words, and if they can learn these words and just, you know, as soon as they see them, they're not going to struggle. That'll help them to get through the passage. And now, using different methods, we've learned that that's not the case. So not always. It's good that they know those words, but that's not what's going to help them to be completely a successful reader.
What steps do you take to stay informed about new research developments in the field of reading education?
Okay. Well, I'm still a member of the West Virginia Reading Association, so I stay involved with that. I have monthly meetings with the State Department. I do a lot with House Bill 3035 and Third Grade Success Act, and working collaboratively with the State Department. We go through a lot of research, things that they find, they share with us. I work with Curriculum Associates and their research. A lot of what they are finding, especially now, a lot of emphasis on post-COVID. So I do that, and then honestly, a lot of it is just with my peers and at central office. Kara Mitchell, who is our Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum Instruction, she's wonderful. She is always diving in, and anytime she finds something, she's sharing it with us. A lot of research from her that we look into. She even recommends like podcasts, like Sold a Story. I don't know if you've listened to that or not.
I have not.
But you should. Like on your commute, if you could download it and listen to it. I mean, it's really good. So anything that she finds, she sort of passes on and sparks that interest, and then we all, try to follow her lead. So.
What role does assessment and data play into research-based practices?
A lot. A huge role, because you have to have that research and assessment data in order to even identify the gaps, to determine like the questions that you need to guide that research. You need to determine if what you're doing is effective, if it's quality research. The assessment and data, you can look at that and have it spread enough to where you can make sure there's not a bias that's sort of guiding that in a certain direction. And really, your research and your assessment data is what's going to drive like what your outcomes are going to be, like what you want them to be. So I don't know if that makes sense or not, but
has there ever been a point when you collaborated with researchers to improve student outcomes?
Yes. Currently, I'm working with the State Department, and we are conducting some research by collecting data and doing surveys, things like that, to see how much knowledge that our staff and our principals actually have on the science of reading. So we have collected like the pre and the post. Well, we're getting ready to do the post, but and trying to see like what their knowledge was beforehand and what it is once we've done a lot of these trainings throughout the year, and we're going to try to see like the difference in the effectiveness, like just educating the staff, and as opposed to what it would be as far as like implementing that in the classroom. I'm working with Curriculum Associates again. They are actually getting ready to give new research on the post-COVID effects on reading. They are adjusting their norms because we're seeing that where kids were pre-COVID and where they are now, it's like the norms are completely different. We're seeing that they are so far behind. We've found in that research that our kids that were 5th grade and above, their reading the lack wasn't detrimental. It was basically, once you've learned to read, you can read and you kept going. It was those kids that were getting the foundation that missed some of those basic parts. That's where we're seeing the deficits at now, and it's really changing our norms as far as like how our kids are scoring on their benchmarks and things like that.
Can you share an example of specific research study or theory that has significantly influenced your approach to teaching to reading instruction?
As you know, like Air County implements Secret Stories by Katie Garner, and she recently had research published that was done, by a third party, to show, that it is not biased, but the research that she has done on brain-based reading and the ability that it helps children to have to access earlier, like phonics patterns and spelling patterns, things like that, by connecting it to things they already know, things that they already associate with, like their behaviors, movements, social stories, things like that, things that can, the parts of their brains that are already developed, like the language that's developing and things like that, and the behaviors. They, a lot of these stories they can link to things that are familiar to the kids, and that helps them to pull that phonics pattern and those sounds back up. And so she's got a lot of research on that right now. The research has shown that with the Every Student Succeeds Act, that it is a Tier 1 based program to integrate into what you're already doing, and it is helping kids to read better and become more proficient, and then later helping them to focus more on comprehension because they're not struggling to get those words.
Yes. And our last question is, have you found a way to correctly measure the effectiveness of instructional methods implemented in the classroom?
Honestly, we base a lot of what we see on our iReady benchmark data. We look at that and we try to look deeper. We look at like all of our pre and post tests, whether that be with our curriculum, things that the teachers are just doing within their classrooms, a lot of formative assessment, observations. So we're really just trying to take the data that we've started with and then look at the strategies and things that we've been trying to implement this year. We've trained our teachers and our instructional aides on the science of reading, and we've been pulling them in and doing strategies and things that they can do in small group to help differentiate and things. And so we're hoping to see a big difference from our beginning year to the end of year. So that's one thing.
Yeah.